Yep. Inside, I want to kill myself. We are on an 0-7 run over the last 2 days. After tonight was just complete bullshit. So that's how I'm going to start off this show. Horrible Sunday, 1-5. I don't even know what to tell you about that. I just don't want to do this anymore. I have never seen anything like this, man. With the slump continuing, 2 straight losses, not a good day at all. 0-4. I just have not had a good season, man. What can this slump that I'm on? The slump continues. I've reached a new peak, actually. I'm going to burn my Bruins hat, man. I don't know what is going on with the Bruins. March 8th, is that what it is? I don't even know. It's March 9th, I think. Who even knows, man? I don't know what day it is anymore. I don't even know what day it is anymore, man. Back with you after the worst day that I could possibly have. Back with you, as I always am. Until I die, at least. 0-2 yesterday, and yesterday did not go well for me. 0-5. The worst month that I've ever had in my 18 years doing this. I don't know what to even tell you about this anymore. Broke the slump yesterday as the slump discontinues. The slump continues. Somebody fucking kill me, please. I don't even know what I should do at this point other than potentially end it all. What's up, everybody? It's Toad back with you. Toad Stool Sports, December 23rd. Happy Festivus, everybody. We got the Festivus poll ready to go right here. I don't really have any grievances to air here. It's mostly feats of strength on the show here, and from the teams that we had plays on yesterday. 3-0 day yesterday with the bounce back yesterday. UTSA, that line went up to 10.5, kind of worried me. So people that got on it later in the day got a better number and whatever. Either way, it didn't matter. I think they lost by 3. They were right in that game right at the end. They might have lost by 2, whatever it was. They were in that game at the end, man. So it might have gone into overtime as well. I'm not sure, but it was close at the end. We won with Mississippi Valley State. Like I said, man, it's just one of those games where the line is just too high. In West Virginia, like, they were going to have to get into the 90s to cover that, and I just didn't see them doing that or caring to do that. So Mississippi Valley State loses by 35 and covers fairly easily. So how about that? It was a wire-to-wire cover, baby. I think at most they were down 37 or maybe 38, but so I guess a little bit dicey. And then the Columbus BJs got it done for us as well. Got out to a 2-0 lead and then wound up winning the game 3-1. So we'll take that as well. The scoop the pot with the Blue Jackets. Money line cash if you just went straight up money line, puck line, whatever, it all hit. Today, I'm being real selective again today. We have a few bowls today that these bowls are such a mess now, dude. I'm being unbelievably selective with the bowls. It's way easier to handicap the playoff games because it's like a straight handicap rather than a gay one. But we'll talk about these bowl games today. The bowls are a mess, dude. Like, just with the transfer portal and everything else that's going on, it's crazy. Only one of the 3 games today is really a straight handicap, and that's like the game that I would have the strongest opinion on today, and I still don't want it. There's a huge NHL card and NBA card because the leagues are going to be off for a couple of days, except for the Christmas NBA games. But I only have 1 play over there, too. I'm going to have 1 college basketball play and 1 NHL play, and that's it. I don't like the NBA board at all. Jeffrey, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. Stacks, thanks for having me on your show last night. I was on Stacks' show last night, which is, what is it called again? Shoot the shit? Shit talking? What is it called again? I don't know, whatever it was. I had fun on that show. You guys can hopefully go find that. It was fun. The Pelicans, what did they do? I didn't even see. I was happy with their performance when they beat Houston the other night. I was happy about that. Sienna and Bethune-Cookman both covered barely. All right, well, that's good. Hopefully you, I don't know, got to bang Buffalo Wild Wings waitresses or something, whatever's going on over there. All right, let's get into it, man. We have a small college basketball board today. I do have 1 play, maybe 1 other slight lean here. I mean, most of these games are just kind of lame. There's a game at noon between Green Bay, Doug Gottlieb's team. He's out there throwing chairs and whatever against Campbell. And this is a game where if you look at the line, you're going to think, like, what is going on here? Where Campbell's 5-7, Green Bay 6-7, but Campbell's laying 5.5. I mean, that should tell you right away. Odds makers are telling you Campbell's the better team. Yeah, they get some home court advantage, but Green Bay also sucks on the road, 1-5. Campbell 4-0 at home. I mean, I don't really have much of a situation to talk about here, but if I was going to play it, I would probably lay it with Campbell. Green Bay did also actually beat UC Santa Barbara. I mean, that's a pretty decent win there. I think Green Bay might have actually still been favored in that game at home, but UC Santa Barbara, decent team. Campbell, they're coming off a bigger couple of games against Gonzaga and Minnesota on the road. But, I mean, you didn't expect them to beat those teams. They weren't really close in either of those games. So, I don't know. I don't really hate the situation for Campbell there either. The money looks like it's disagreeing. Campbell went up to a 5-point favorite, 71% of tickets and only 64% of the cash on them. So the money is saying otherwise, but my opinion would probably be to lay the points there. We got another game at noon between Binghamton and Army. Binghamton is just an atrocious team. They just lost pretty badly to Mercyhurst. Army is coming off, I think, something bigger than that. Yeah, Army pulled off a little bit of an upset over UMBC, which I think UMBC was the favorite at home in that one. So Army maybe in a little bit of a letdown spot of that. They're not exactly a good team, although they're laying a lot of points here, up to 11. The money looks like it is coming back on Binghamton. It's a low total in this game, too, at 140. So I don't disagree with taking the points with Binghamton in that one. 55% of the tickets on Army and 62% of the cash on Binghamton. SEC Network at 1 p.m., Bellarmine and Kentucky. I almost consider giving out a play on this. I think Kentucky is kind of in an iffy spot here. And on top of that, Bellarmine is an in-state little brother because Bellarmine is in Louisville, Kentucky, if I'm not mistaken. Nobody knows who the hell they are, but I'm pretty sure that's accurate. They've only been in Division I for a few years now, but Kentucky is definitely one of the games on their schedule that they're going to try to get up for, although obviously Kentucky's the way better team. Kentucky likes to play a bit faster, so that could throw Bellarmine off a little bit, but do we really see Kentucky like totally showing up in this game and going all out for it? I'm not so sure. Kentucky's coming off of 2 nice wins against Indiana, and then they beat St. John's and knocked St. John's out of the rankings. That was a nice win. I believe I had my lean on that one correct in that game. Nice win for Kentucky, and now they play Bellarmine, which, again, how much do they really care about this? They got the holidays coming up after this, and then coming out of the holidays, SEC play starts with Alabama. That is a huge game, too. So this is basically a sandwich spot. Plus, Bellarmine is an in-state little brother, although Bellarmine is atrocious on the road. 1-4. Kentucky's 7-1 at home, although obviously you're going to be asking Kentucky to cover a giant number in this game if they're going to actually try to cover this thing. Bellarmine, though, they're coming off a pretty nice upset win here against Chattanooga. They played pretty tough against Northern Kentucky the game before that, which is another in-state big brother to them. And Northern Kentucky is not that bad. So Bellarmine, this is my hesitation with it, is that Bellarmine is playing like 3 kind of step-up games in a row and coming off an upset. I mean, I would still lean to their side if I was going to play this game, but it's not going to be on my card. Kentucky has 71% of tickets and 88% of the cash on them for whatever reason. They're up to a 36-point favorite in this one, but I would look to take the points with Bellarmine. Again, if I was going to play it, the total has increased up into the 150s. Very similar to the game that actually is a play for me, which this number looks like it's going up and up and up. But we're gonna take the points with Grambling. Plus 30. Oh, whoops, I forgot. Best bets. Yeah, here we go, baby. This is my playing college basketball today is Grambling, which is kind of a similar spot to the Bellarmine one, except I think I like this one better. I also think this line is a little bit out of control. I mean, it keeps going up, and I don't know why. It's up to 30.5 now from 27. 56% of the tickets, 75% of the cash on Ohio State. I'm not going to buy it. The total is all the way up to 154, which does worry me a little bit, but Ohio State doesn't exactly play that fast. And I've talked about how Ohio State is not that battle tested, except, yeah, they did look pretty good in their 2 step-up games against Illinois and North Carolina, but this is kind of why I want to fade them here, because they had a huge game against North Carolina, and they almost pulled off the upset. I mean, this is a game that was, I think, tied with a minute to go. Huge step-up game for Ohio State. They lost by 1 point. Now they play Grambling before going into the holidays, and after the holidays, they start Big Ten play, or continue Big Ten play, but they start like official Big Ten play. And yeah, they only started with Rutgers. I know Rutgers is a horrible team, but still, I just don't know what Ohio State's really going to have after this run of games here, man. After they played, they beat Northwestern in their conference opener. They played Illinois tough. They had a really tough physical game against West Virginia that went double overtime, I believe. I talked about that yesterday. And then they had another huge game against North Carolina. So, yeah, I just don't know what they have left in the tank here. I don't really see them really having all this motivation to cover this number. And yes, I know, similar to what I said with Bellarmine, Grambling is awful on the road, 1-6. Ohio State 6-1 at home. But Grambling, I mean, they're somewhat battle tested at least. I mean, some of their road games, they got blown out by Iowa State. We know how good Iowa State is. Grambling was actually fairly competitive on the road against Southern Miss, Tulane. Cal Baptist wasn't even that bad of a loss. UC Riverside. I mean, Grambling is kind of hanging around in a lot of these games, and I know Ohio State is a beast. Ohio State, well, not a beast, but a different animal from the rest of these teams, except Iowa State is really the beast. Ohio State's definitely significantly worse than they are. But this is one of the big games on Grambling's schedule, man, so I think they will show up. And yes, I know they did just win whatever this historically black college tournament thing is. They beat Hampton, which I was wrong about that game. After they pulled off an upset of Norfolk State. So, yeah, I mean, they did do that, but are they really going to be in a letdown spot when they're facing Ohio State here? I don't really think so. And Ken Baum basically has this line in like the low 20s. So the fact that this line is 30.5 seems pretty ridiculous. Like, you know that you're getting some line value playing Grambling in this one, and that is what we're going to do here. I know Ohio State is more battle-tested now. Like I said, I was saying up until like recently that they hadn't played anybody. Now that's no longer the case, but now because they did just play the biggest somebody that they played so far pretty much, I think they're going to be in a hangover spot after that huge performance. So that's really the handicap there. So we are going to be on Grambling plus the points in that one. All right. We got, I don't think I'm going to talk about every one of these games. I mean, if you want me to talk about any of these other games, I will, but none of the rest of these games are really any big games. There is, the games are all throughout the day, by the way, so you get some afternoon basketball, whatever. And then we do have Villanova and Seton Hall is the only power conference game today. It's on Peacock tonight at 7 p.m. 2 Big East teams going at it. They both play ugly and slow, so an under maybe is worth a look in this game because of the way these teams play. The total's up to 132.5. The money looks like it's coming in on the over a little bit, but I don't know if I would really agree with that. We know that both of these teams play super ugly. Villanova is coming off an overtime upset win of Wisconsin on a neutral. That was a big win, man. This was in Milwaukee, too, so it was kind of a favorable location for Wisconsin. Wisconsin's falling apart, man. I don't know what's going on with them, but that was a nice upset win for Villanova. Now they got to come back and play Seton Hall on the road. It is the conference opener, so I don't think Villanova's really going to overlook Seton Hall, especially because Seton Hall is off to a good start. Although, as I keep saying, I don't think Seton Hall is that good. I think Villanova is the better team. Seton Hall does have a conference win already. They're coming off beating Providence on the road. An all right win, but Providence isn't exactly good. So I worry about Seton Hall, man, as far as, like, I just don't think their record is really indicative of what they are. Like, they've had a couple of step-up games. They beat NC State. They lost by 2 to USC. Other than that, not really battle-tested. Like, Kansas State is down. Rutgers is not very good. Providence is not very good. Villanova, I believe, is the more battle-tested team, really just because they faced BYU and Michigan. And they did beat Pitt, and then they beat Wisconsin. Still a decent win there. So you could argue Villanova's in a letdown spot after pulling off the upset. I see both teams showing up here, so I kind of start resorting to, like, the numbers. in a case like this. And I think taking the points does make sense here, where it might be a low scoring, ugly game. Getting any points kind of makes sense here. Plus, I think Villanova is the better team. So having Seton Hall laying 2.5, even though, yes, you have to give them home court advantage here. I don't know. To me, I think the correct line is probably closer to the 1.5. 67% of tickets, 66% of the cash on Seton Hall. I would take the points with Villanova on that one, though, if I was going to play it. All right, we have NHL here. I am going to have one play on this massive NHL board. We have big NHL and NBA boards, man, and I just don't like what I see at all. We got Pittsburgh at Toronto to kick this off in the afternoon at 4 p.m. Pittsburgh, we were correct with Pittsburgh on the show with that zigzag win over Montreal. That's a pretty nice win, so I could see this kind of going both ways. Like, is Pittsburgh going to be in a letdown off of a shootout win over a pretty good Montreal team, or are they going to have new momentum because they broke a losing streak there? Maybe. And carrying that momentum out on the road sometimes is a good thing, although it's just a single road game before they celebrate the holidays. Toronto has really been struggling recently. Toronto, they just got smashed by Dallas 5-1, although Dallas is really good. Toronto's returning from a road trip, and I talk about I don't like playing teams returning home from road trips. I'm basically never going to do it. It was a short road trip, though. They were only on the road between Thursday and Sunday, but they did go all the way. Dallas was the furthest they went. Coming back home from that, overall, I think I do have to lean Pittsburgh here because Toronto is technically still returning home from a road trip. That can be a bit of a distracted spot, especially when you're returning home. The holidays are coming in, so the holidays, I think, can kind of distract the home team a little bit more. Whereas if you're on the road, you're not really thinking about that. Pittsburgh may carry that momentum into this, even though I could see the argument for the letdown. But the market read says Pittsburgh here. Toronto's down from -150 to -128. 81% of the tickets and 77% of the cash on Toronto. Public being on Toronto seems wild to me because you'd think the public would be taking Pittsburgh as an underdog with the better record. But either way, I think Pittsburgh is probably the way that I would lean in that one. Dallas at Detroit. Dallas, obviously one of the top teams in the NHL. They're coming off that win over Toronto that I just mentioned. Single road game here going to Detroit before the holidays. A little bit of a weird spot, though, to have to travel. Just this single game where it's not really a road trip. But the situation for Detroit, I think, is worse. Detroit's playing a third game in 4 days, and the other two of those games were both beating Washington. Those are huge wins for Detroit. Now, they shouldn't overlook Dallas, but it's more of a question of, what does Detroit have left in the tank here? And they do face Carolina after this, and I think maybe they have a little bit more attention on the conference foes than the out-of-conference foes. The money is saying Detroit here, but I kind of disagree with that. Dallas is -130, 78% of tickets, 67% of the cash on them as the road favorite, so they're public. The money is seemingly coming in a little bit against Dallas here, but there's no way that I can play Detroit after that run of games, after they had the home-and-home sweep of Washington. I think it would have to be Dallas or leave the game alone in that one. And you can see why. You can start to see why I don't like this board today. Rangers and Washington. The Rangers, they just lost on the road. Go figure. The Rangers lost. Jeffrey had the under in that game. Definitely correct. This was a 1-0 game, late in the game as well. Rangers just lost 2-1. Excuse me. They should be focused on Washington, and the Rangers, as we keep pointing out, they're better on the road than they are at home. They're coming off a pretty bad loss, so the way this sets up, I don't know. I'm probably not really going to disagree with the Rangers in this one. Washington is coming off those 2 losses to Detroit, but I think those were tougher losses. They do have to face New Jersey and Florida coming out of the break. Maybe they overlook this Ranger team that's still kind of been struggling most of the season. So probably going to lean Rangers here, but the Rangers look like a public underdog here. 82% of the tickets, 79% of the cash on them. Not something I'm really going to want to deal with. Washington down from -170 to -165 on the money line. Oddsmakers telling you Washington is the better team here, but again, there's no way that it's a game that I could get involved in. Montreal at my Boston Bruins. This is an old school, original 6 rivalry here. these two teams don't like each other. Like, Montreal is one of the biggest rivals of the Bruins. Montreal's coming up that home and home against Pittsburgh. The last game went into a shootout. Now they get Boston, then they go into the break, and then they have Tampa Bay coming out of the break, which is probably a bigger game. Like, I think this game means more to the Bruins, and the Bruins are staying at home, and they've had an awful homestand here. I think they're going to want to try to salvage the last game of this homestand after losing 3 in a row and losing 6-2 with Korpisalo in net. It will be Swayman back in net here, so they'll get their better goaltender here. It would be Bruins or pass for me in this one, and hopefully I'm right about it as a fan. Boston up from -120 to -121 here. Public is probably going to be leaning towards Montreal because they have the better record, and getting an underdog with the better record seems tempting. 79% of tickets on them, but 89% of the cash on Boston. So it does look like it's kind of one of those pros versus Joes markets kind of setting up in that game. Got to see what the market looks like as the day progresses. But yeah, I would lean towards my Boston Bruins in that one. Hopefully I'm right. Pinsy, what's up, man? Thanks for hanging out. All right. We have Buffalo and Ottawa. Both of these teams, actually, I was going to say, I think both of these teams are hot right now, right? I'm pretty sure. Buffalo's surprisingly won 6 games in a row. They just beat New Jersey. They are playing a third game in 4 days, all in different cities, though, so maybe it starts catching up to them a little bit. Ottawa, though, they're also on a hot streak right now. Yeah, they've won 4 games in a row, including beating my Bruins. They're also playing a third game in 4 days with 2 of them at home, but with a trip to Boston in the middle there. They do have their rival Toronto up next, so that's going to be after the break. I mean, I don't know. I could see Buffalo being in a letdown spot, though, after a pretty big win over New Jersey, so I don't like this game either, really. So this game, I mean, I would kind of just have to resort entirely to the market read here. And the market is saying Ottawa. 75% of tickets on Buffalo. 75% of the cash on Ottawa, sitting at -155 on the money line. I guess I'll have to agree with the Ottawa side there, looking at the market. But that's a game that I really I have a hard time forming any opinion on that game at all. New Jersey is going to the Islanders. So New Jersey going up to Queens here. New Jersey off that ugly home loss to Buffalo. Maybe it'll be good to just leave and take a short trip up to Queens to play the Islanders. Although they're going to play Washington after this. But I don't think they're going to overlook the Islanders, especially after coming off a loss. The Islanders are on a 3-game losing streak now. They just lost to Buffalo. So both teams just lost to Buffalo. The Islanders have had more days off, though, to try to break this losing streak. But being back at home, like I say, sometimes it is a bit of a distraction because you have family stuff to get back to. Although, of course, New Jersey, you could argue, is still home distracted here because really they're just taking this. They basically just have to drive up to Queens for this if they really want to. Money is coming in on New Jersey in this one. They're up from -120 to -126. 91% of the cash on them. 68% of the tickets are on the Islanders. So the odds makers really disrespecting the Islanders. The odds makers are telling you, even without Jack Hughes, I'm pretty sure he's still out, that New Jersey is the better team. I guess I just can't disagree with it based on looking at the market read, but a lot of times I will if I have a strong situational read, but obviously in that game I do not. We got Florida at Carolina. Probably the big game of the day. This is a huge game. This is, I think, the best game of the day here. Florida's starting to play better here. They did just beat Carolina, so it is one of those kind of quick revenge spots, although really, I think you consider it more of a zigzag spot because, okay, Florida just won in a shootout against Carolina. The team that loses has, the adjustments to make, you know what I mean? And Carolina's still the better team here, so for those reasons, yeah, it makes sense to maybe start looking towards Carolina. Florida did just lose ugly to St. Louis in the Hurricane Sandwich. That was a winner for us on the show, playing the Blues in that game. Playing the Blues, baby. Florida, that did kill a win streak for them, though. So sometimes losing a win streak will hang you over into the next game. But again, I think that was a sandwich for a reason. I think they're going to show up for this game against Carolina. Carolina should show up as well because, again, it's against Florida, and Florida did just beat them. Carolina's lost 2 games in a row. They lost in the Florida Sandwich. They had a bigger game, though, against Tampa Bay. And Carolina is technically returning home from a road trip here, although it was only a road trip that started on Wednesday. They only went to Nashville and then down to Florida to play both Florida teams, so it's not exactly one of these really long road trip returns, but still the holidays can kind of become a distraction when you're at home as well, man. So I have a hard time with this game as well. Carolina, playing Tampa Bay in the middle, there was a much more difficult game than Florida's was against the Blues. So, I'm going to kind of lean towards Florida in this game to win again. The money, I think, is disagreeing with this one, though. Carolina's up to minus 151. They're kind of public, though. 71% of tickets, 99% of the cash on Carolina. So the money is kind of saying Carolina right now, but I kind of disagree with it in that one, just the way that spot sets up. So I would lean slightly towards Florida again, but not a huge I actually leaned to Carolina in the first of the two games, I think, if I remember correctly. Oh, Jack Hughes is back. I get him confused with Luke Hughes, man. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, so Florida is my opinion in that game slightly, but not a strong opinion at all. New Jersey Devils here. What do we got here? I'm just double checking. I think I'm losing my mind here or something. Yeah, Luke Hughes. Let me see. Yeah, Luke Hughes, the defenseman. Yeah, there's Jack Hughes. Let me see. How long has he been back? Oh, he just came back. That's good to know. He just came back in that game against Buffalo. Good to know. Thank you, Jeffrey. So that was, I guess, technically a reverse injured player spot there. So maybe the Devils will do better, in the second game that he's back. Although I don't put that much into the injured player theory stuff in hockey because, again, an individual can't affect the hockey game as much as in other sports except for a goaltender. Nashville at Minnesota. All right, for this game, Nashville, they're coming off nice win over the Rangers, starting a road trip. Well, not really starting a road trip because I think they're going to have the single game at Minnesota and then the holidays, and then they have a road trip after that. But they will be focused, you would have to imagine. They got some momentum. They're going out on the road to face a pretty good Minnesota team, a team that's been hot. Minnesota did just lose a long win streak. And I talk about how when you lose a win streak, sometimes it will hang you over. It was a big game, too, against Colorado. And Colorado just crushed them 5-1. But I kind of see this being more of a hangover spot for Minnesota here after losing that win streak, playing a really good team like Colorado, kind of getting sent back down to earth. I would lean towards Nashville here. You could get a decent underdog price on this one. Minnesota's down from minus 190 to minus 188 here. Don't really see the percentages yet. I think Nashville is the way to lean in that game, but obviously I have no play there. Philadelphia at Chicago. Philadelphia just beat Vancouver in a return home spot. Still beat Vancouver 5-2. That was yesterday, and now they're going to Chicago for one game before the holidays. Very, very weird spot, man, to have to turn around after a home win and go back out on the road for one game, and then you're back home again. I don't know if I love that. For Chicago, Chicago, they're returning home from a road trip. They've been on the road since last Tuesday. They did have to go up to Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa. They did the Eastern Canada road trip. They're returning back home. They do have multiple days off to try to break this 5-game losing streak that you're on and that they're on. And usually I talk about how having that extra time off will help you snap that losing momentum, but I don't know, man, because it's a return home spot. It's the holidays. They could get distracted potentially here, and they do play Dallas next, which I think is going to be a bigger deal than playing Philadelphia, so I don't love how it sets up for Chicago. I don't love it for either team. Philadelphia is public, and the money looks like it is kind of moving against them. 87% of tickets and cash on them. They're down from minus 120 to minus 113. Oddsmakers still telling you Philly's the better team over Chicago, and I think both teams, well, Chicago wasn't as good as their record looked early in the season. I still think Philly is not as good as their record looks either. Really, really tough handicap in this one. It's a tough read. I have to stay away completely. I would start kind of leaning towards an over in that game because that's kind of what I do when I think both teams are kind of in bad spots, but I want pretty much nothing to do with it, man. The market read is slightly indicating towards Chicago. Utah, Colorado, I considered this game. I I kind of like Utah in this spot, and you'd be getting them at a big price. Like, you can probably take the plus 1.5 on the puck line here at a pretty decent price, almost like a spread bet for Utah. Utah did just play tough games, though, beating Detroit, close game against New Jersey, and then they beat Winnipeg in overtime 2 days ago. Now they have this single game road trip to Colorado before the holidays. They're not going to overlook Colorado, though. Colorado's the best team in the NHL, probably, so they're going to be focused on it, but I worry, if they're going to have that much left in the tank, whatever, but I think the spot is worse for Colorado. Again, being at home right around the holidays is kind of an issue. Could be a bit of a distraction. Colorado just beat Minnesota after beating Winnipeg. Colorado, that's a pretty satisfying win to knock down one of the hottest teams in hockey, Minnesota, and beat them 5-1. And then after they play this middling Utah team, they get Vegas after the holidays. That is a bigger game as well. So I think it's kind of a sandwich spot that Colorado is in. I would look towards Utah in this one. Colorado down from minus 245 to minus 240. 88% of the tickets, 100% of the cash. That's obviously not accurate. Again, yeah, I would be leaning towards Utah in this one. And this one is almost on my card. You can probably get, like I said, a pretty good puck line price on Utah in that one. Under in the Penguins-Leafs, I don't know. I mean, again, I don't have good reads on the totals anyway, although I was good that one day with the totals. The money looks like it's coming in towards the over after the line did drop from 6.5. Well, this wasn't really much of a drop, though, from 6.5 juiced heavily to the under to 6 juiced to the over. That's not really that much of a move at all on that total because they really just kind of shifted the juice a little bit. And this is also pre-game, just kind of picking whatever they think the consensus line is based on all the different books. So that really isn't that much of a move. It kind of looks like the money's somewhat indicating on the over in that game. And you know me, I don't like Pittsburgh's goaltending at all. I'm not really a fan of Toronto's either, so I don't know. That kind of worries me. I mean, I'm almost never on unders in hockey. You know me, although I was correct about that Dallas one the other day. I don't like it, though. They've lost 3 in a row and given up 4, and 5 goals. Well, then why would you want an under then? Other than the fact that, that you think that recency bias is affecting the number, but the total can't really move that much. This is a hockey total. They pretty much are forced to put it in that range around 5, 6. Like, they can't really move it otherwise. So it's like, I don't know, like fading the recency on that. There isn't really a whole lot there as far as like line value, you know what I mean? Yeah, the Penguins scored 4 in the last game. Yeah, I just think both teams just are not good at stopping their opponents from scoring. Calgary is at Edmonton. I mean, this is a probably kind of a big game for both teams. It's the Alberta rivalry. Calgary just beat Vegas 6-3. Kind of a ridiculous win for Calgary there. Are they really going to be in a letdown when they're playing Edmonton, though? Probably not. They've had a couple of days off. Don't think that's going to really break their momentum or anything. I mean, they're going to be focused on Edmonton regardless. For Edmonton's coming into this off of beating Vegas. So both teams actually just beat Vegas. Edmonton did it in a return home spot. Don't remind me, because that was a game that we lost on the other day. Pissed me off. Vegas actually kind of outplayed them in the game to a lot of an extent. Edmonton got the win. Pretty big win. Coming off of that, maybe a little bit of a letdown spot for Edmonton. Slight opinion for me on Calgary in this one. Edmonton's all the way down from minus 190 to minus 160. 91% of tickets on them. 84% of the cash on Calgary. I'm going to lean towards Calgary in that one. Not a play, though. I don't want to touch it. Toronto will focus more on defense. That is true. When a team is allowing a lot of goals, yeah, I mean, that is an argument. Yeah, they will typically, yes, they will try to focus more on defense after that happens. So I do not disagree with that. Next up is my other play, and I don't have any other plays today. So best bet, here we go. This is going to be, we're going to go on the puck line with San Jose. I found it at minus 118. I'm sure you can find it in this range, maybe minus 120. I mean, if you want to start doing like a split bet, like I've showed you on other games, you could do that too. But this is we're getting, a larger underdog line here, so playing it as a spread bet. And then, of course, it's hockey. So, of course, if you do it like this, you got to put like 10% of the bet on the money line as well if you do it this way. We're going to be on the San Jose Sharks. We're going to fade Vegas. Vegas is at home, and again, I think you could have maybe a little bit of a holiday distraction here for Vegas. But look at this run of games that Vegas just had, man. I mean, they're returning home from a road trip, so I don't like that. But although it was a short road trip that was just over the weekend, but returning home from a road trip, still you can fall into a distracted spot. But they're playing a third game in 4 days, all in different cities, which I don't like. And back on Wednesday, back at home, they had a shootout against New Jersey. They had an ugly loss to Calgary, but I think they were looking ahead to Edmonton, and they played Edmonton. They didn't go away in that game against Edmonton. They were losing 4-1, I know, because we lost on Vegas in this game. And that was a huge game for Vegas because it was also they were looking for playoff revenge because Edmonton eliminated them last year. And they came back and they teased us by getting back to within one goal with like several minutes left in the game and still fell short by a goal. Huge performance for Vegas there in a big, emotional get-up game. Now they're back at home. They got holidays to deal with here, facing a mediocre at best San Jose team that they did just beat not that long ago. That was only 4-3 on November 29th. And, of course, look who they have next. After the holidays, they play Colorado and Minnesota. I mean, I think this is definitely a sandwich spot. And for San Jose is coming off 2 straight losses. We faded them with Seattle the other day. They're going out on the road for 1 game, and that might actually be good for them. And they've had 2 days off, so they're the more rested team. They're coming off a couple of losses, and I talk about how when a team gets rest after a couple of losses, it will help break that losing streak. The reason why we had Seattle against San Jose was sandwich spot. San Jose had played Dallas, a tough game before that, and they had Vegas upcoming. So part of that handicap was that they were going to be focused on Vegas. I think they will be. They get to leave home for a game. Short trip, go out to Vegas, focus on hockey, then do the holiday stuff after that. I like how it sets up a lot better for the Sharks here. That's what we're going to do. Vegas looks like they're taking some of the money right now, even though the line dropped from -241 to -230. 64% of the tickets, 79% of the cash on Vegas, but we'll see what it looks like at 10 p.m. Eastern when the game actually happens. I like San Jose to keep this thing close. We're on the Sharks on the puck line in that one. Correct. Yeah, Vegas won about a month ago, which I think that revenge again is overstated. I don't really think it's revenge that's really the thing. It's more that Vegas is already in a bad spot here, and I just don't think San Jose is really the team that is gonna draw their 100% of their focus. You know what I mean? So that's what I think about that. And then we do have Seattle at LA to finish off this huge hockey board today. We got 13 hockey games and I think 10 NBA games today. Seattle, they're finishing a road trip. They just beat Anaheim yesterday, so they're on a back-to-back. They're playing a third game in 4 days, fourth game in 6 days, all in different cities, fifth game in 8 days, all in different cities. That's pretty difficult to do. Nice road upset win over Anaheim. Not loving how it sets up for Seattle here, even though we do keep talking about how the Kings are not very good at home this year. The Kings, coming off that loss to Columbus yesterday, that was a win for us. They were in the return home spot, in a letdown spot also after beating Tampa Bay. So it was a spot to fade the Kings. We got it right. So they're also on the back-to-back, but they're just staying at home. Of course, Seattle's really only going up the road from Anaheim to L.A., so that's not that bad either. L.A., I mean, they do face Anaheim, Colorado, Tampa Bay, Minnesota twice coming out of the break. Those all seem like bigger games to me than Seattle, even though L.A. did lose to Seattle on the road on December 10th. But I still think it is quite possible they kind of overlooked them, even though, yes, I know it's a second game back home, and usually I talk about when a team returns home, they do bad in the first game. Usually they do better in the second game. Oh, man. I don't know. I mean, the money is saying L.A. in this one. I know Seattle's in a bad spot. All that being said, I guess I'll agree with it and lean towards L.A., but there's no way I'm going to touch this game. L.A. Down from -240 to -235, 60% of the cash on them, 62% of tickets on Seattle. All right. NBA, hate the board in the NBA today. Absolutely despise it. Not Not going to have anything today. Tomorrow, actually, this is a massive NBA board. I think it's more than 10 games. Whatever it is, it's huge. It's all night games. And somehow I do not see any spot that I like here in all these games. But, sometimes you just got to do it, man. Know when to fold. Washington at Charlotte. This is an ugly one. Washington just lost to San Antonio. Going back out on the road for a single game against Charlotte. I mean, when you're Washington, you can't really overlook anybody, but I don't know. I don't know if this is really the greatest spot for them. They did lose by double digits to San Antonio, so it wasn't exactly close. Although I think, did we get the cover on that one with Washington on the show? I forget. Charlotte actually played a closer game against Cleveland, coming to within 7 of them yesterday on the road. So this spot is worse for Charlotte. They're playing a third game in 4 days, all in different cities. They got blown out at Detroit, played really close against Cleveland. Cleveland's definitely struggling, though, with a lot of injuries and stuff. And then now Charlotte back home, maybe getting into kind of a distracted spot here. Maybe they won't focus on a bad team like the Wizards. The money is coming in on the Hornets, but I don't agree. I would take the points with Washington if I was going to play it. Hornets down from 6 to 5.5. 60% of tickets, 94% of the cash on them, but I don't agree with that. Under in Pelicans Cavs. I don't know. I don't have much of a feel for that game at all. I mean, that line has skyrocketed from 237 to 245, but the question is why? Like, why did the line move like that? Like, that wasn't all just market activity on the over, I wouldn't imagine, so, like, was there some player who wasn't expected to play that's now back, like Donovan Mitchell or something? I don't know how that line would have moved like that. So, I mean, you're right. It could be an overreaction, so maybe there is some value on the under there, but, I mean, I don't want anything to do with that. Patrick, what's up, man? Thanks for hanging out. Yep, you too. Have a great Christmas as well. Thanks for checking out, the show last night. Stacks, it was a fun show last night. Pelicans scored 40 in the fourth quarter. Yeah, and the Cavs, were really, really ridiculous from 3. That's true. So there should be some regression coming off of that. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Brooklyn at Philadelphia. For this, Brooklyn's coming off a pretty nice win over Toronto, man. They could be in a letdown spot off of that. That was a big win. Nice upset win over one of the better teams in the East, but I don't know if they really overlooked Philadelphia, man. I mean, you're Brooklyn. You're a bad team. I think you just kind of keep playing and keep focusing. For Philadelphia, they just beat Dallas. I mean, not really a great win or anything, but continuing their momentum at the very least. A couple of days off could hurt their momentum maybe a little bit. They only play Chicago after this, though, and Chicago's been struggling, so I don't know if it's necessarily a look ahead there. Overall, I would lean towards laying it with the Sixers in this one. They're a 10-point favorite. Of course, always with the Sixers, you got to see who's actually in their lineup. Although I don't even know if it really matters whether Embiid's in or out. I think laying it is probably the move in this game with the Nets coming off that upset win. 60% of tickets, 78% of the cash on the Sixers. Don't really have a whole lot else to say about that. Good night last night. Thank you, sir. A nice lay. Is that a parlay? Thanks for hanging out again, Garrett, is what I meant to say. So you had the straights. The straight people were all on the money. Or you mean the straight bets that you made? So you had straight bets and a parlay. Nice night. There you go. Good nights all around here yesterday. So that's good. The Nets whisper. I don't know. Where's he at? Wait, which one is the Nets whisper again? Saab? Saab is in Poland right now. So that's where he is, right? He's in Poland, so he should be around. Maybe he's at work. I don't know. Because it's probably the afternoon where he is right now, right? So he should be around, but probably at work. All right, Chicago at Atlanta. This is a zigzag-ish potential spot here where I thought Atlanta would win and cover yesterday, and they did not. Jeffrey, I'm surprised you're not going to play the under in this game. Chicago and Atlanta combined to score 302 points last night in regulation in this game. 152 to 150 was the final. And no, that game did not go into overtime. Unbelievable. Chicago is known for playing a fast pace, but this is ridiculous. Chicago got the upset win as well. So it could be a bit of a zigzag spot where maybe you want to look to lay the points with Atlanta here off of that. Because again, you want to fade whatever the outlier was usually. Although, of course, the major outlier there was the fact that that game was unbelievably high scoring. The total is at 253 here. But I don't think I want to fade that, though. It looks like you should fade that sentiment, but the number this is one of the highest totals you'll ever see in the NBA. And when it's that high of a total, I don't want to go under it because it just still looks too easy to go under it because the total is just so unbelievably high here. I wouldn't do it, to be honest. We have 50% of tickets on the under, 99% of the cash on the over. I wouldn't do it. The Hawks are getting a little bit more value. They were like a 5.5 point favorite yesterday. And now I think just because of last night, they're a 4-point favorite now. The money's coming back in on the Bulls, but I wouldn't agree. I would lay it with the Hawks if I was going to play it. 53% of tickets on the Hawks, 57% of the cash coming back on the Bulls. The one other thing to be concerned about with the total is that if both teams are running up and down the court that fast, you're going to have really tired defenses, and that worries me as well. This game can go over the total without even getting close to as extreme as it was last night, so I'd be worried about that. The total is that high for a reason. The only other time I can remember being an NBA total being that high was last year. It was a game between Memphis and who was it? I forget who it was. It was definitely Memphis. I forget who the other team was. But I was like, no, it's going to go over because there's a reason why the total's that high, and it still went over. So I don't know. New Orleans at Cleveland. New Orleans seems to have some new life here. They're starting to play better. They weren't as bad as that 3-22 record looked, man, and now they're a little bit healthier. They're on a nice little roll here, but they are in a back-to-back, having to travel up to Cleveland for one game here. They beat Dallas yesterday. They're not going to overlook Cleveland, I don't think, though. When you're New Orleans, you're not really going to overlook anybody, but Cleveland is still known as one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference, Cleveland coming off a win over Charlotte. That wasn't a great win, though. That was also yesterday. They're staying at home, but they do have kind of a major look ahead to the Knicks. They play the Knicks on Christmas. So, again, today's the day where you got to look at the Christmas look-aheads, man. So I'm actually shocked that I don't like any of the games today, but I don't. I don't want to come in and play New Orleans in this spot because Cleveland's coming off a bad performance. New Orleans, both teams are in the back-to-back. New Orleans has travel. I can't do it. The money is actually kind of indicating on Cleveland for now. They're at 9.5, 60% of the tickets, 65% of the cash on them. You got to see who's in and out for Cleveland, though, because they've had a lot of injuries this year. Mobley has been out for a long time, which does hurt their defense. It looks like basically everybody else is pretty much back for Cleveland, though. They're without Nance and Strus still, but most of their big players, or most of their big name players are playing tonight, though. Will the coaches tell the teams to go nuts again? I think it's more that I don't know if the defenses will totally show up in that game. Especially leading into the holidays. I don't know. Milwaukee at Indiana. One of you guys in the chat said that you wanted Indiana in this spot. I don't. I don't want Milwaukee either. Milwaukee's coming off playing at Minnesota really close. They had a close game against Toronto on Thursday. Then Minnesota on Sunday. They almost pulled off the upset on the road. Now they're going to Indiana. But look at the spot that Indiana's in. I think it's even worse than the spot that Milwaukee's in. Indiana played in Boston last night. They're playing a third game in 4 days, all in different cities. And if you saw what they did in Boston last night, Indiana was winning that game in the second half by 20 points. The Celtics literally packed it in. They were like, we're not going to win this game. And the Celtics put in all their backups. And the backups won the game pretty much for the Celtics. And then when the Celtics got close again, and the Celtics were like, oh shit, we can win this game. And they put Jaylen Brown back in, and they put their starters back in, and they won the game. That is a brutal loss for Indiana, dude. They should have had the win against the Celtics. It would have been a huge win. Now they're on the back-to-back coming off of that. I hate the spot for Indiana here. And it's a Celtics sandwich. It's a nice corned beef Irish sandwich here because they got the Celtics again on Friday. This is an unbelievably bad spot for the Pacers, dude. The problem is I don't like the spot for Milwaukee either, so I just can't do it with either team. Milwaukee is up from a pick'em to a -1.5 here. 57% of tickets on them, 67% of the cash coming back on the Pacers. So the market read is saying the Pacers. A hilarious total here that's like almost 50 points lower than in that 40 points lower, than it is in that Bulls-Hawks game. Both these offenses struggling, man. I mean, you got Giannis not there for the Bucks, Halliburton not there for the Pacers, but I mean, I kind of have to lean to the Bucks in that game or pass. The spot is just that bad for the Pacers, man. But it's not good for either team, so it's a complete stay away, in my opinion. I mean, again, I don't want to tell everybody what to do. You know what I mean? I'm telling you how I look at it. I'm telling you what I do. I've been doing well recently, so if you want to, just follow me, obviously do it. But also, of course, do your own handicapping, although I get stubborn and start disagreeing with people. But yeah, I mean, people might see something that I don't for sure because I just see things a certain way, and that's about it, All right, Toronto is playing Miami. This is a pretty big game. Toronto coming off that ugly loss to Brooklyn. They got blown out by Boston the game before that. Toronto should kind of be in a bounce-back mode here, you would think. Miami, remember, is without Tyler Hero again. He got hurt again fairly recently. Miami's in, I think, a tougher spot because they're returning home from a road trip that they've been on since only Thursday, though. And they stayed on the East Coast. They just went up to the Northeast. So it's not exactly the worst road trip return spot, but it is still a return home. And it's going into the holidays, so it could be difficult, could definitely be a distraction spot. Miami's coming off that game where they were really close to the Celtics until the Celtics exploded in the fourth quarter. Celtics playing some really nice late game basketball recently. So that was kind of a brutal loss. And then Miami turned around and played close against the New York Knicks on Sunday and fell just short again. Now they get Toronto, and up next they got Atlanta. I don't know if it's really going to be a look ahead to Atlanta, but man, so the issue is, right, so Hero is actually out now. Hero, I believe, played against the Knicks, so I think he's injured now. So, because I'm like, wait a minute, why did I not want Toronto here? Because I think Toronto is the right side in this game, but the problem is the Heat are kind of in an injured player spot here because Hero got hurt in the game against the Knicks. So this is his first game out again since coming back. So the team might step up their game with him out. You know what I mean? So I worry about that part of the game here. So I'm staying away. If I was going to play it, I would take the points with Toronto, though. 81% of tickets, 84% of the cash on the Heat. They're up to a 5.5-point favorite. Again, still lean to Toronto in that game for me, though. Denver and Dallas is going to be the first of the doubleheader on NBC and Peacock. Denver's one of the better teams in the league, and of course, they could be in a spot where they're looking ahead to playing Minnesota on Christmas because that's going to be that big televised ESPN game. Well, this is also a televised game, but it might mean a little bit more to Dallas. Denver's on a back-to-back. They're coming off a blowout game against Utah, and they have this one weird travel spot now to Dallas. It is kind of a weird spot for Denver, man. Dallas is coming off a loss to New Orleans. That's a pretty ugly loss. That was also yesterday, though, so Dallas is playing 3 games in 4 days, all in different cities, and they also play on Christmas against Golden State, but Dallas is not going to overlook Denver. And they're coming off an ugly loss at the Pelicans, so I think the only way that you can look at this game is to take the points with Dallas, but the money is saying otherwise. Nuggets are down from 7 to 6.5, but they got 66% of the cash on them, 62% of the tickets on Dallas. I don't want either side here. Again, I'm trying to be really selective here, but I would lean to Dallas if I was going to play it, but I can't do it. Then we got Knicks, Minnesota, which I still consider to be like the Randall KAT trade battle here, which that happened a couple of years ago now, though. The Knicks are coming off that win over Miami. Decent win, even though I think the Knicks were the favorite at home there. So they didn't win by that much. Now they go on the road to face Minnesota, and they do have Cleveland to kick off the Christmas slate on ESPN, as I said. Probably a bigger look ahead for Cleveland than it is for the Knicks, though, because Cleveland hasn't been playing that well. Will the Knicks overlook Minnesota? I don't know. I mean, they are a Western Conference team. It is kind of a weird spot for the Knicks to have this one-game travel spot out to Minnesota before playing on Christmas. Minnesota just barely got by Milwaukee. And remember, I said that was a sandwich spot because Minnesota had beaten Oklahoma City the game before, that monster win there. Barely got by Milwaukee. I thought they'd be looking ahead to the Knicks, and then they have Denver on Christmas, though. So will they overlook the Knicks because they have Denver on Christmas? I don't think so, because part of that handicap was they're going to be focused on the Knicks as well. So I think the T-Wolves are the right side here. Now, the public is all over the Knicks. 64% of tickets and only 58% of the cash on the Knicks. So the T-Wolves are an anti-public home favorite. And you know I like anti-public favorites because you're getting to lay points, usually a small number, with a good team. So you know you're backing a good team. Now, the problem with that is part of the reason why the public is coming in on the Knicks is because the T-Wolves are up to an 8.5-point favorite. Well, why? Like, there's no way they would be an 8.5-point favorite without some significant injury for the Knicks. Well, yeah, that is what's going on. Brunson is not playing in this game for the Knicks. Brunson, I don't know if it's more of a rest thing to get him ready for the Cavs game on Christmas, but Brunson is hurt, and he's not playing in this game. I can tell you that. So technically, it does set up as an injured player spot for the Knicks, where they're getting more value on the line now, and they might have a bigger effort just because they know Brunson's not in the lineup. We also don't really know the status of Anunoby, so I don't know. There's some things to look at, like prior to this game happening, I would say. Now, the other thing that worries me is the T-Wolves still have not done well, like stepping up in class, although they are playing better recently. I know they beat Oklahoma City, so I mean, that's as good as it gets, beating them. But prior to that, they only had 2 wins against winning teams all season, and one was as a favorite against Boston at home where they didn't cover, and the other was against San Antonio without Wemby. So Minnesota has not done well playing against winning teams this year, so that does worry me as well. So I have to just stay away, man, unfortunately. I know it's a lot of stay away saying. Now, Oklahoma City at San Antonio, we remember the last time Oklahoma City played San Antonio bounced Oklahoma City from the NBA Cup semifinals and pulled off that upset. So Oklahoma City might have this game circled just because of that. Oklahoma City did just bounce back with an easy win over Memphis. I think they did wind up covering, barely, at home. Now, they are in a back-to-back, though, having to travel to San Antonio, and they play San Antonio again on Christmas, which sets up as a potential zigzag scenario, depending on what happens here today. But I still think they show up for this, man, because, again, San Antonio is the team that bounced them from the Cup. Not that the Cup matters that much. San Antonio is going to show up as well, though, of course. They're playing the Thunder. San Antonio is coming off an easy win over Washington. They are returning home, and again, returning home for the holidays may be an issue. And, of course, they have to go out on the road on Christmas. So San Antonio might have to get some Christmas stuff done now while they're at home. So it could be a bit of a distraction for them for that reason. So overall, I'm going to lean towards the Thunder in this game. They're down from 6.5 to 5, though. The money kind of coming in on the Spurs. 53% of tickets, 58% of the cash on them. But, you know, I mean, I think this is a kind of a short line on the Thunder here. I mean, the Thunder were a 10.5-point favorite in Vegas on a neutral. And, like, what has really changed now, unless there's some injury on the Thunder? Like, teams in the NBA do not get that much for home court. And, like, the strongest home court in the NBA is probably like 2 points at most. So if the Thunder were 10.5 on a neutral, and I know they lost that game, like them being a 5-point favorite, it seems like there is some value on the Thunder on this line. It does seem a little bit short, like kind of based on what's happened more recently. Got to look at the status of Wemby. Of course, he's a game time decision, but I think the line is basically indicating he is playing. There are a lot of game-time decisions for the Thunder here, mostly Holmgren and Hartenstein. They're going to need those guys in there so that they have the size, and I guess Caruso, but they're all game-time decisions, so we'll see. It's going to depend on how much Oklahoma City wants this game versus the Christmas one, I think. So we'll see. But, yes, whatever happens in this game, you might want to zigzag it on Christmas. If San Antonio wins tonight, OKC money line on Christmas, yeah, but it's going to be at Oklahoma City. The money line is going to be like minus 900 probably, or worse. So Oklahoma City should be like a 12-point favorite in that game on Christmas at home. So, yeah, I would lay the points with Oklahoma City in that game. If San Antonio wins this game, I think laying the points with the Thunder on the Christmas game makes sense. What's up, Zach? What's going on? Jesus, Mary, Joseph, and the Talking Walnut. Yes. That's the nativity. Yes. All right, we have LA Lakers at Phoenix here. Seems like these teams have played a lot recently. These teams have played twice recently, and Phoenix beat LA by 17 at LA, and then LA got revenge, winning on the road by 2. But Phoenix has kind of had the upper hand in this matchup. The problem is the Lakers have had 2 days off, and they're coming off a horrible loss to the Clippers. I mean, it doesn't get much uglier than that. So the Lakers should be in bounce-back mode here. However, they do face Houston on Christmas, but I don't really know that they're going to overlook a Phoenix team that's been playing pretty decent. Phoenix, they're going to show up as well. Phoenix did just lose to Golden State in the back-to-back scenario there, or 2 straight games against Golden State, I should say. Both close games, big games. I mean, Golden State has Curry back, whatever. Now Phoenix is back at home for this. But they get to play this, and then they go out on the road, and they face New Orleans. So I think their focus will be on this game against the Lakers here. So, I mean, how do we handicap this? The money's all coming in on the Lakers, but also there's a reason why the Suns are favored like this. They're up from a 5-point favorite to a 6-point favorite. And remember, Reeves didn't play in that game for the Lakers against the Clippers, although they shouldn't have lost horribly. 61% of the tickets are on the Suns. Surprisingly, 78% of the cash coming back on the Lakers. There's got to be some injury for the Lakers here for the Suns to be favored by this much. It looks like Luka is now out. So Reeves might come back, but Luka is now out. He's estimated to return for the Christmas game. I think you got to play the Lakers plus the points here or leave the game alone. I mean, they're still coming off a disgustingly bad loss, and they might step up their game with Luka out. It becomes like the injured player theory spot because I'm pretty sure he played in the previous game, right? So I think that's the way I would look at this game. Let me see. Luka. Reeves is still out, by the way, and so is Hachimura. So I don't know. It gets a little bit more concerning there. Actually, still, Reeves is a game-time decision. I think he might actually come back. He's questionable, so I think he'll play if he can. Luka is definitely out, though, and he played. It looks like he did get hurt, or they just pulled him from the game against the Clippers because it was becoming out of hand. And then for Hachimura, he's not playing in this game either, so I don't know. It does make it a difficult handicap, but I do think the line has kind of overreacted to all those injuries. So still probably lean towards taking those points with the Lakers, but the public doesn't even look like they want it with all the injuries. Memphis at Utah, and with what the Lakers looked like in the last game. Memphis at Utah. Memphis coming off the loss at Oklahoma City. Now they go into elevation with no days off. They're playing a 3rd game in 4 days. Having to go to Utah, but they only have Milwaukee after this. Not exactly a huge look-ahead spot here. They weren't that close to Oklahoma City in their last game either. For Utah got blown out by Denver in their last game on the road. That was yesterday as well, so they're returning home off of that. And then they do have Detroit on Friday. So maybe a little bit of a sandwich here. And Utah did go into Memphis and beat them back on December 12th, which I don't remember if that was a game that I gave out on the show or not. Probably wasn't, but I don't know. Utah is coming off the uglier loss in the last game, but still travel back-to-back. Big game up next as well. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of looking like Memphis might be the right side in this one. Grizzlies are up from 2.5 to 3.5 as a road favorite. 57% of tickets, 58% of the cash on them. I'm not really going to disagree with the Grizzlies, but again, I don't want it. Unfortunately, I just don't see anything that strong in the NBA today, man. Even with all these games. Orlando is at Portland. I think I was wrong about that game yesterday. Orlando got absolutely wrecked by Golden State in that game. Orlando, I mean, they're just not holding up with this really injured roster they have right now, man. Now they're on a back-to-back, and they're playing a 4th game in 6 days, all in different cities, which is pretty brutal. Although you think they should bounce back from such a horrible loss yesterday. Portland just lost to Detroit. That was a fairly close game, losing to Detroit yesterday. So they're also on a back-to-back. staying at home makes it a little bit easier for them. But still, that was a big game against Detroit, and Orlando might come into this a little bit angry at the very least because of how that game went yesterday. Lot of things to look at with the injuries. Wagner is still out for Orlando. They might get Suggs back, so you got to pay attention to that. He didn't play against the Warriors, so we'll see if he comes back. Of course, that will obviously help Orlando if he comes back. And I don't think it really will put them in a reverse injured player spot. Grant is somebody to look at for Portland. It looks like Drew Holiday will not be coming back yet for the holidays. Jeremy Grant, we got to look at what's going on with him. He didn't play against Detroit, so we'll see what happens with him. He's one of the better players on Portland. The Magic are down from a 3-point favorite to a 1.5-point favorite, but it looks like they are getting some of the money. 67% of tickets, 73% of the cash on the Magic. I would lean that way. I would lean towards the Magic in the game just because the loss that they had yesterday was just that bad. It just looks awful. Like nobody's going to want them. So, yeah, Portland doesn't really have a point guard. Good point. Good point. Without Holiday there. Yeah, I don't even know who else they have that runs point. We got Detroit at Sacramento. Detroit did just kind of escape that game against Portland. Wasn't a good game for them. That was yesterday, though. Now they have to travel down to Sacramento, but they don't really have any big games after this. So Detroit might show up for this game, even though it is a back-to-back. A lot of back-to-backs here. No back-to-back for Sacramento, but they're coming off that upset of Houston, which that was a win for us on the show. One of my huge underdogs that won outright for us. Those have been happening recently for us on the show. Huge win for Sacramento. So, in a way, yeah, it is a letdown spot. But they're playing Detroit, so they still might show up for a game against Detroit because we know Detroit is good. And that game did break a losing streak for Sacramento, so usually that is a good thing. But Sacramento did just lose to Portland twice. I don't know. It's going to look maybe easy to play Detroit because Detroit still just did beat Portland. But still, I think the big factor here is that Sacramento's in a letdown spot. I mean, an overtime win over Houston doesn't get much better than that as far as like wins are concerned. And this is still a Sacramento team. It's without Sabonis. Things are not going well. The money is saying to fade the Pistons, though. They're down from 9 to 8.5 here. 79% of tickets, only 70% of the cash on them. So the market read is saying take it with the Kings. I struggle with that game again, man. I don't want any of this today. I mean, it's ridiculous how bad this board is today. The second game, I forget if it was the second or the first game, Sacramento-Portland. One of the games was way lower scoring than the other, yeah. It was, the second game, right, was way lower scoring, yeah. The first game was unbelievably high scoring, so there was a total zigzag that happened there where I think both teams must have just fixed shit on defense and focused defensively, or maybe the first game was like a major like shooting outlier. Sacramento with all these injuries, they're not really scoring a lot. And really Portland doesn't have a great offense either right now. But yeah, that Detroit-Sacramento game is difficult. And then we do have Houston at the Clippers to finish this off. Now, this one is close because you look at the situational setup. Houston just lost to Sacramento, so they should be in a bounce-back mode here. The problem is they're playing a third game in 4 days, all in different cities. Fourth game in 6 days, all in different cities. And they have to play the Lakers on Christmas, which is a pretty major look-ahead spot. So I do worry about that. And the fact that they're already going to be in LA, it's like the big event is really the Christmas game. So I worry that maybe Houston doesn't bounce back immediately here. But the Clippers, they got to be in a letdown spot here because they just beat the Lakers, even though it was without Reeves. Huge win. And now it did break a losing streak, so sometimes that will give you new momentum here. And I don't think they're going to overlook the Houston Rockets, really. So I have a lot, there are a lot of things going on in this game, too, where I can't play it. Because on the surface, it's like, well, Houston just lost as a big favorite. The Clippers pulled off a big upset, so you want to look towards Houston for those reasons, right? But there are all these other things coming into play where that might not be the case. And again, the Clippers still might get up for a game against Houston. And the Clippers don't play on Christmas. The money is saying Houston. 79% of tickets, 92% of the cash on them. They're up from 5.5 to 7.5. I'm not going to disagree. I would still lay it if I was going to play it with the Rockets, so that it went through that key-ish number of 7.5 there. But again, unfortunately, I can't get involved in any of the NBA today, man. So again, sometimes you just got to pass, and that's what we're doing today. All right, college football. Some real craziness here with the college football, man. It's an ESPN triple header. ESPN focusing on these bowls that really don't mean a whole lot for the most part. Starting out at 2 p.m. Eastern with the Bush's Baked Beans Boca Raton Bowl in Boca Raton, Florida. Boca Raton, the mouth of the rat. The rats are eating the beans, man. I'm pretty sure it must be Bush's Baked Beans, right? It's Bush's Boca Raton Bowl. Is it George Bush? I have no idea. The rich Republicans living in Boca Raton? I don't know. This game is Toledo against Louisville. Now, this is a game where you got to pay attention to the opt-outs. Now, I've been saying that Toledo underperformed this season, even though they did finish with a pretty solid 8-4 record. Toledo, they were a lot better than their record looked all season. They had a couple of strange losses in here where they were actually favored on the road against like Western Michigan, even though Western Michigan wound up winning the MAC, and then against Bowling Green. Very strange losses there. And Toledo was actually favored on the road against Washington State too. But they finished strong. They won 4 games in a row, and they tried to make a run at the MAC championship, and then they fell short because of tiebreakers, basically. Like, I don't know what happened. Like, the MAC does these weird tiebreakers where Miami, Ohio wound up having the tiebreakers over both Toledo and Ohio and getting into the MAC championship for whatever reason. Toledo, so there are a lot of things going on here. Like, I like that teams finish strong, which kind of means they might want to be in the bowl game. But then again, having a lot of time off means that it might kind of ruin your winning momentum. But then again, Toledo is not as bad as they looked in some of these games this year. But then again, Toledo might be disappointed because their goal this year was to win the MAC, and they didn't do it. And then that kind of leads into looking at the opt-outs for this game here. It's a problem for Toledo, man. They got some opt-outs here, and some of their players are opting out, which aren't really being shown here, other than Davis, their edge rusher. But I think they have other guys opting out as well. But the main problem here is they're losing their head coach and their DC, and they're both not playing in the game. They're both not going to be there at the game, I should say. Candle, the flame has gone out because he's leaving, and he's going to UConn, which apparently is a step up from Toledo to go to a team that's not even in a conference. Don't know what that move is. It's weird, but he won't be coaching. And then their DC is going to Syracuse. So they're going to have some interim coach here. I believe Toledo already has another coach lined up, so they know who their new coach is, but I forget. I'm not sure about that, actually, but I don't think that their interim coach who's coaching the game today is going to be their future coach. So you have to try to gauge, like, is this a negative or a positive when a head coach leaves? You know what I mean? Because in some ways it can mean like, oh, they're abandoning the team and the team just won't get excited anymore. In another way, it's like if the team likes the interim coach, they'll get up for it. And it's really hard to figure out, do they like the interim coach? But I think if the interim coach is staying and he's going to be the coach next year, the team will play hard for him because they want to, get that guy's career off on the right foot. But I don't know if that's the case here. I think the interim coach for Toledo today is not necessarily going to be their coach. So there are some problems with Toledo here. Now, one thing that still might get them up for this game is they do get to play Louisville, which is an ACC team. So maybe they will still get excited for that reason. Now, for Louisville, they only have a couple of guys entering the transfer portal. So for the most part, Louisville is actually intact. And it seems like they're showing up for this game. Now, Louisville, they looked like they were going to finish the season just as a dead team. Basically, after they lost to Clemson, it looked like they'd packed it in. They got blown out by SMU, but shockingly, they came back and they absolutely obliterated Kentucky. And I know Kentucky's not that good, but I was shocked that Louisville actually showed up with that amount of intensity in that game. So that actually kind of shows you that maybe Louisville will actually show up for this bowl game. And when you're the better team like Louisville is, that may not be a good sign for the dog here. Louisville's up to a 10-point favorite, though. This line has been all over the place. So it opened 9.5, and it initially was all the way down, I think, below the 7. I think it was 6.5 for a while, but then once Toledo's coach left and whatever, the line went back up through the key number and all the way up to 10, and it's headed through that key number of 10. 75% of tickets, 87% of the cash on Louisville. I think if you're going to play it, you got to lay the points here. I mean, if Louisville shows up and they are the better team, they have the way better offense as well. They should be able to get it done here, but I mean, Toledo, they're actually fairly good defensively, though. So that's the one thing you do have to worry about. If they still are going to show up with any amount of focus in this game, their defense might be decent enough to maybe keep this game close. And the way that, again, this season, Toledo wasn't that bad. Total is very low, though, down from 46.5 to 43.5. I don't know really what caused that drop. 75% of tickets and only 67% of the cash on the over. So you know me, I don't like laying double-digit points in a football game with a total that's that low either, though. So obviously it's a pass for me. It would be a slight lean for me towards laying the points, though, with Louisville. With Toledo just seeming like they're in a little bit of a messy situation here right now. It's really hard to gauge their motivation, though. So I don't know. We just have to pass on it. Bush's Baked Beans. Tyson, what's up, man? Tyson B. Tyson Chicken, what's up, man? They should sponsor a bowl game. The Tyson Chicken Nugget Bowl. The Potato Bowl. Dude, I told you. I said that on my show. Maybe you had left before I talked about the game. I talked about the total in that game on my show yesterday, and I said that I thought the line move down was an overreaction. The reason why the line moved like 7 or 8 points, I think, lower on the total just because there were opt-outs on both sides. And I said that was an overreaction most likely. I said that the over was the way to look at that total in that game, although I preferred the side with Washington State slightly. I didn't love the game either way, but yeah, I did not agree with the under in that one at all. Plus, Washington State was stepping way down in class to face a really bad Utah State defense. Utah State played all Mountain West teams this year, and Washington State played like multiple ACC teams and whatever. Like, they played a much, much more difficult schedule. So they were like stepping down in class defensively to face a much weaker defense than some of the defenses that they faced. You gotta watch the show, man. Although the under did almost hit. I mean, it was just Utah State's offense just really faltered at points in that game. All right, we have a lot of movement in this game in the New Orleans Bowl, which is obviously in New Orleans. This game gets played every year in the Superdome. It used to be the R&L Carriers New Orleans Bowl, and I guess they no longer are carrying them as a sponsor. I think this is the first year for a long time that it's not R&L Carriers, which I think was I forget who I don't even know who they are, but there's no sponsor anymore. It's just the New Orleans Bowl, whatever. This is Western Kentucky and Southern Miss. Now, this is the cleanest handicap out of the 3 games. There are not many opt-outs in this game, so pretty much both teams are showing up. Western Kentucky does have a couple of guys hitting the transfer portal, one of their cornerbacks and one of their running backs. Although I think Western Kentucky is more of a passing offense, so I don't know how much that really matters. But there's been a huge move on the line towards Southern Miss, and I do not disagree with it. If you're going to play this game, I think you got to try to get Southern Miss still at least as an underdog, but you missed the best numbers at 3.5. But of course, in these bowls, you have to try to gauge, like, has the line moved too much? Or, like, when the line moves like this, you got to trust that movement means something and that there is, like, actual, like, professional money slamming that line down. And there is a reason for, well, not just professional money, but the line is moved just because of stuff that's happened, like, like new information that's come out. Although, again, in this case, I think it was more just professional money hitting this because there hasn't been that much information. There just really aren't that many opt-outs or anything here. So I think it's a legitimate move. I liked Southern Miss anyway in this game, like when the bowls were announced. Wish I kind of took it to the 3.5. I mean, at this point, I'm going to pass, even though I know I did give out Old Dominion back in their other game because they were still at like 3.5. They actually got up to a 4-point dog again, and they had an easy cover. Southern Miss might get this game fairly easily, but I think I just have to stay off of it. 53% of tickets, 67% of the cash on Southern Miss. If you do want to play it, again, you could probably get like a +1 on Southern Miss right now. That's probably what I would do, or play the money line as an underdog here. Total is pretty high, up to 58.5 from 55.5, but Looks like money kind of coming in towards the under to some extent. 77% of tickets on the over, 57% of the cash on the over. I wouldn't want to deal with the total in this one, though. I mean, I don't think either defense is really necessarily that great. So, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if it was a higher scoring game, but I think the Southern Miss side is the way to look at this game. It's a game where Western Kentucky, I mean, bowls like this are just kind of going through the motions for them, in my opinion. Like, I don't really know if they're going to be excited to get to play a Sun Belt team in New Orleans. Western Kentucky, they're in bowls basically every year. I think they won a bowl last year, or they've won at least one bowl within the last couple of years. I think they've won multiple bowls in the last few years. Like, I think they've won 3 of their last 4 bowls, all in the last 4 years. So how excited does Western Kentucky really get here? I don't know. I mean, they were trying to win their conference, the CUSA, and they fell short. They lost to Jacksonville State, so they missed getting into the CUSA title game for that reason. That was kind of their goal. They played those tough games against LSU and Jacksonville State, although you got to give them credit. I mean, they played hard in both of those games, and it was just kind of a spot where maybe they were going to be hung over because they played too hard against LSU and then kind of fell flat a little bit against Jacksonville State in that game. But you know, they still might show up for the game, but I think the game does mean more to Southern Miss. Now, I don't like the way that Southern Miss finished on 3 straight losses, although, yes, when you have a lot of time off, almost a month off, that could break your losing momentum, and it could be like a reset, right? But also, that was ugly, the way they lost to Troy. Troy's not that good, man. Southern Miss took the loss there. But, of course, whoever won that game was just going to lose to James Madison in the Sun Belt title game anyway. So Southern Miss realistically was not going to win the Sun Belt, but they probably should have been in that game against James Madison. Now, for Southern Miss, I think this game does matter more to them. It's also closer to their home, but enough of a destination that I think they'll also be excited about it. And teams that are smaller teams that want to be in a bowl, they'll still show up in bowls that are close to their home too. But this one is kind of both, right? Like, they get to go somewhere. They get to play in the Superdome, which is fun. And their crowd should be there because New Orleans is not that far from Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Like, their crowd can really just drive here pretty easily. So they should have the better crowd than Western Kentucky has in this game, I would imagine. So a little bit more crowd support I'm expecting for Southern Miss here. Now, for Southern Miss, though, I believe that Southern Miss's coach did leave, which is Charlie Huff. And you remember last year, this Southern Miss team, a huge portion of what's now Southern Miss was Marshall last year. And if you remember, Huff and a bunch of his players and his staff left Marshall. They refused to play in their bowl. Well, they didn't refuse really, but they just had so many people leave that they couldn't even field a team in their bowl game. So they got replaced in their bowl game. So Marshall didn't play in a bowl last year. And those guys became Southern Miss basically. So these guys that are the core of Southern Miss didn't play in a bowl last year. So I think that's going to pump them up. Southern Miss, their program, also didn't play in a bowl last year. So I think that will also pump them up here to be in this game. Now, Huff did leave, so that might be a little bit of a concern. But their interim coach, who I believe is their offensive coordinator, they elevated him to head coach, and they've already given him the head coach job for next year. So I do think that means Southern Miss is going to play hard for this guy because they know he's going to be their coach next year. And, of course, he's in the system. He knows the system. So they're not going to change what they're doing or whatever because he's the OC. So they're going to stick to what they've been doing. So I think that's all good. Like, the continuity is still there for Southern Miss. The players haven't left. I think they're going to be excited. Southern Miss hasn't won a bowl in like a few years at this point, I think, as far as their program is concerned. So I think the game means more to them. Man, am I talking myself into a play on Southern Miss here? I know I've been really stingy with playing the bowls because there are so many moving parts in all these bowls here, man. I'm going to stay away, but especially because we've missed out on some of the best numbers, like through the key number, although, of course, the next key number is just basically who's going to win the game. I mean, if you're just playing who's going to win the game, I do think Southern Miss wins this game. So that's what I think about the game. Did I buy a lot of gifts? No. I don't have that much money to work with here, so I'm an unemployed individual, so no. All right. And I have no friends and virtually no family. So what am I supposed to do? UNLV and Ohio is the last game here in the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl, which is in Frisco, Texas. Now, for this game, UNLV has moved up from a 4-point favorite to a 6.5-point favorite. It's about hitting that key number of 7 almost here. Unbelievably high total, up to 66.5. I wouldn't disagree with an over. Like when you see a total that high, it usually means you should be looking towards an over. These teams both are better offensively than defensively. UNLV actually is balanced offensively as well. 69% of tickets, 74% of the cash coming in on UNLV here. I don't really disagree with this move. I actually think the move in this game is to probably go UNLV over their team total because their offense is pretty good, and I expect their offense to be able to handle an Ohio team that's not really that great. And there's a reason why the line is moving like this, and this is because Ohio's coach got fired for impropriety because he was sleeping with an assistant or something on the staff. I'm assuming a chick. So he's fired now for that, and because he was gambling or something drinking, I think. So he got fired for sleeping with an assistant coach, which, I mean, all right, fine. You can fire him for that. Although even that, I think, is maybe a little bit stupid. But I guess it was because it was also an affair that didn't look good, whatever. But the other thing they fired him for was because he was drinking with his staff in his office. Like, who cares about that? Like, they're adults. They're not allowed to drink like at night or whatever in his office. I don't know, that's stupid, but whatever. So that's Ohio. Their coach is gone for that reason. So I think that's going to kind of throw Ohio into a bit of turmoil here, even though we don't really see any opt-outs yet really on either side here. But Ohio is in turmoil after that happened, man. I think you might see, even though we don't see the news yet, but sometimes it happens game of, you might see some of the Ohio players actually just ditching the bowl game. I don't really know, man. Now, for UNLV, I do worry that UNLV is a bit of a disappointed team because they did have their sights set on winning the Mountain West once the season got going. And I talked about how they were overrated and they weren't going to win the Mountain West. And we did have a win with Boise in the Mountain West championship game. So UNLV fell short of that. But, I mean, the reward they missed out on, I guess, was playing in the LA Bowl. But, you know, like Boise got to get smacked by Washington, so that was the reward. But UNLV is not even as good as Boise, so that is a little bit of a concern. But Ohio's a MAC team, and they're not really that good either. I mean, they're not even as good as UNLV, obviously. So will UNLV show up in this game? Maybe. I mean, UNLV, they're a program that hasn't been to that many bowls over the last decade or so maybe they will still be excited for this. On the one hand, they didn't really expect to be here when the season started because it was an overhaul year for UNLV with Dan Mullins coming in there. You guys have said that you like him. I don't think he's that good, but they had a good season, man, and maybe they do want to cap it off with a bowl win to get him a bowl win in his first season. So there are some reasons why they might show up for this thing. And Ohio, as I said, they're in turmoil. And Ohio barely missed out. Like, they finished the season pretty strong, beating, well, UMass sucks, but then they did beat Buffalo to make their shot at the MAC championship, but they didn't get in because of the tiebreakers. So Ohio had lost some of the tiebreakers. Even though they actually beat Miami, Ohio during the regular season, they didn't have the tiebreaker against them because a computer said so. Isn't that great? Which I usually will go with, like, the numbers, but in that case, I think it's a little bit weird. So maybe Ohio is a little bit disappointed. They didn't make the MAC championship game. That was kind of their goal. You know, they're coming into this bowl with all the turmoil with their coach and whatever. I assume one of their one of their coordinators or whatever must be stepping into the coaching role here, but I don't know if I like it, man. Ohio, I mean, their offense has been all right. So again, I mean, an over, I wouldn't really disagree with the over in this game. I think, again, UNLV over the team total does make sense as well. I think if you play the game, you probably got to lay the points with UNLV, but I'm staying away from it completely. Out of all three of these games, the best lean for me is the Southern Miss game, which is the cleanest handicap out of all of them, and that's the way I would lean in that game. But unfortunately, again, I think I'm going to pass on these ones. Tower Gang, I don't know, man. I mean, I was talking to Cole a little bit last night about the Elway documentary. Yeah, I mean, those guys are friends. I don't know. I don't talk to them that often, though. I message back and forth with some of them occasionally, but yeah, we don't buy each other Christmas gifts. That's not a thing. No players at the hotel bar. That's a good rule for your players. For the coach though, like, why do I give a shit if he's drinking in his office? Yeah, that's right. These guys are all pussy whipped. They're putting pussy on a pedestal, man. That's true. I forget the guy's name already too, but yeah, that was Ohio's coach, and it already happened with the Michigan coach as well. I'm only halfway through it, the Elway doc. I like it so far. It's entertaining. It's nostalgia for me because I remember some of these games, especially the ones like later in his career. It has a lot of Elway himself in it because a lot of it is set up. It's like him being interviewed and him like kind of telling the story of his like career and whatever. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. His wife is in it. Dan Reeves is in it, being interviewed as well. Yeah, I mean, I like it so far. It seems like it's a pretty well-made documentary. All right, but yeah, that's going to do it, man. I mean, I'm tempted for Southern Miss here, but I'm going to stay away. I probably will give you a couple more bowls as the bowl season goes, and I probably will have one playoff game over the weekend here, but I know I'm being really stingy with it. But again, the bowls are just so unpredictable now that it's really hard to figure it out. I think I only had like maybe 4 of them last year, and I think we did win barely on the bowls last year, but yeah, we'll stay off of this one. I mean, I'm mostly looking to fade like the most disappointed teams in the bowl season, so there are a couple more that I do have my eye on, but we're going to pass today. So once more, my plays today are college basketball, Grambling plus the points, and San Jose Sharks puck line in hockey. I mean, if it's getting a little bit pricey on that, if you want to start splitting the bet, puck line, money line, you can do that too. Thank you, Mr. Pinsey. Thank you, sir. An Elway Colts jersey. I don't even think he had a number because he was never officially like on the team. Like, he got drafted by the Baltimore Colts, and then he was just like, nah. And like he never had a number with them, I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I don't know. They didn't really get in. That's the one thing, my complaint about the documentary is unless they talk about it later, they've kind of just skipped over that. Thank you, sir. It is Festivus today. They've kind of just skipped over the whole Baltimore Colts situation. They talked about it a little bit, so they didn't totally skip over it, I guess. But I don't know. It was a weird situation. I mean, I don't know. They didn't really skip over it. The documentary did talk about it, and Elway talked about it as well. But yeah, I don't know. That was a whole weird thing. But yes, thank you guys. That's going to do it. Learn to Toad on Instagram, Learn to Toad on Twitter. You can subscribe to me there. Like, subscribe. Give me comments here on the YouTube channel. We got the Patreon, patreon.com/Learn to Toad, which is Uke stuff right now. Covered in Uke is the Uke channel on YouTube. We got audio. We are on audio here, Spotify and Apple, so you can give me a good review over there for this show. So you can go do that as well. Losercast, we might be doing a show tonight. I don't know. I mean, I thought I might not be able to do it, but I probably can because I'm not leaving for any of the Christmas stuff. I do have family. There is gonna be a little bit of a gift exchange still with family. So, and the usual holiday festivities. So the next 2 days I'm gonna be with family. I'll still do the show like in the morning before I get out of here. It'll be a really small board tomorrow, and I'm not going to play the Hawaii Bowl, so like there's probably going to be nothing to even, I'll give you a show just for the Hawaii Bowl tomorrow. Isn't that awesome? It'll be hilarious, and to not give out a play on it. And then Christmas will be a small morning show as well with the 5 NBA games, and then we do have the 3 NFL games. Oh boy, Christmas NFL. It's unbelievable, dude. You're looking at 3 teams that might be on a 3rd-string quarterback playing on Christmas, and only one team, the Broncos, are a playoff team, and none of the games really have any playoff implications at all. And all the rest of the teams are eliminated. So it's unbelievable. Netflix, the NFL, they all got to be pissed, dude. The Netflix Christmas, it worked out okay last year, even though one of the games was a massive blowout last year, but still, this year, like thought these were going to be big games. Whoops. Now they're all horrible games on Christmas. So isn't that just great? And I don't really love any of them from a betting perspective. I don't like this week from a betting perspective either, really. I'll probably have maybe 2, maybe 3 plays in the NFL, but I don't know. Elway was considered mobile. That's true. He ran a bit, and he ran into people, dude. He lowered his shoulder. Like Jackson Dart of his day, man. Jackson Elway. Elway was definitely running into people, though he was getting out of bounds better than Jackson Dart was. And I think Elway was a bit bigger than Jackson Dart as well. But yes, true. You like the Sharks puck line. You're going to play a prop on Celebrini as well. Parlaying it. You know, I worry about the parlays, man. For me, it's just straight bets. But anyway, what else did I have to promote? Oh, yeah, Loser Cast. We might be doing the show tonight, but we'll see. So that's going to do it. And then I don't know when the Giants podcast is starting, but I will let everybody know if and when it is. But that's going to do it for now. I will be back tomorrow with literally a show that's I think just going to be the Hawaii Bowl. There might actually be a little bit of college basketball. I don't know. I'll have to look. But it'll be the shortest show in show history. That's going to do it. Happy Festivus, everybody. Go air your grievances. Go pin your father in the feats of strength. Make sure to observe the poll, and that's going to observe the Loser Cast poll. By the way, I retweeted the one from last week, which combined the 2 episodes. Leighton made the poll. You can vote for my answer, which I don't know if I'm allowed to pump it up and promote it, but Rob Reiner was my loser pick of the week, so that was mine. If you want to go throw in a vote for him and get me my first win on the show, my first win by picking the biggest loser. All right, that's going to do it. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it as always. Peace.